Man, let's get this second cracking and lacking. So Russia sued Google.
Wait, you can do that? A country can just sue a single entity?
I guess. So
Cool.
Google has been accused of blocking Russian pro-Russian channels on the YouTube. I guess Google owns YouTube now? I didn't know that. Or maybe in Russia. I don't care about that part. All right. But the Kremlin got it before a judge. They hired some lawyers, and apparently they sued Google. Now, this is like right out of an Austin Powers movie. Remember the bald-haired guy that the figure is like, paid me $1 million. And then they whispered to him like, oh, it's really not a lot of money anymore. And he's like, well, pay me one. And he keeps going up and up and up. I don't even know how to pronounce this. Undecillion. It's Undecillion. It's rubles. It's what the Russian money is.
Okay, that was that big number you were talking about?
Yeah, so it's 2 undecillion. So basically, it's a number 2 followed by 34 zeros. In America, it would be $20 billion trillion dollars.
That is like
bigger,
all the world's money, right?
It says that dwarfs the size of the global economy. There's not even $20 billion trillion dollars in the entire world's economy.
Oh, but we'll just print it. It's okay.
He'll give up Google money.
It's like Monopoly money, but it's make-believe and in Doji
So
coins.
the Kremlin said, after negotiating with the judge, we will settle for $110 trillion.
I was just kidding about that 32 zeros. Let me just have 100 trillion.
We're gonna knock the 20 billion trillion down to just 100 trillion.
I mean,
we're doing you a solid, dog. We're hooking you up, dude.
It's quite a discount.
So the judge approved it. It's legal. And I don't know. Okay, so I don't know.
That judge better have Secret Service protection of some sort.
You think Google's bigger than the Kremlin?
I think it's crazy to think that a crazy government can shut down something that we all use.
I think they're just suing Google in I guess. Well, no, because it says Google's headquarters in blah blah blah, California. Google's value, Google's market value as of today is only $2 trillion. So they would have to go out and borrow $108 trillion from somebody.
This sounds like Monopoly. Monopoly money.
Right. It sounds
like the game, the board game.
I wonder what the end game is here. Because
they just want Google gone.
They want Google out of Russia.
Or they want the world to fund their army, maybe.
That's what I was thinking. Is Russia secretly like, look, we'll put the number up there so high no one can pay it.
They'll feel like they got a deal.
Right. And then we'll knock it down and be like, all right, look, we'll make a deal with you, right? Google, you are a hard negotiator.
Jonathan, you can hire me for $400 million trillion. Just kidding. How about only $1 million?
You know what? That's a deal. Wow. When you say it that way, I'll gladly pay $1 million. It's like the Pretty Woman movie. I would have done it for less. I'd have paid more. You know what I mean?
I didn't actually see that one.
You missed Pretty Woman?
I was too young when it came out.
So was I.
Apparently, I listened to my parents at that age.
Yeah. I watched it as an adult on replay or whatever.
Oh, yeah. No.
Did you ever watch Top Gun? Why are we getting sidetracked? Top Gun was my warm-up movie for the ladies. My sister invited her older friends over. She was a senior. I was a sophomore. Maybe I was a freshman. I can't remember.
I've never been a Tom Cruise fan.
But the ladies back then were, man.
My sister went to see it. She went to see it on a high school date. So that would have made me middle school. I was too young. I never cared.
I was a beefcake back then. I'd work out, be all swole up, have my white t-shirt on, just hanging out on the couch, my blue jeans, let the girls watch Top Gun, and then...
My husband says he was a jock too, and I just don't see it.
Like a jock? I was more like a stud. I was what you call a stud, middle name. They wrote a song about me. They call me Stud, my middle name Mud. Who wrote that song?
You know what?
There's a white guy that wrote. He's a rapper. He's a white rapper. Anyways, no, I was more of a.
Are we talking about Russia?
I was more of a stud. I wasn't necessarily a jock. I never considered myself a jock.
Still,
I played multiple sports, but I was a stud. Like, we did other things besides just play sports. And I had a photographic memory.
Really?
I never studied for a test my entire high school career.
Oh,
I could look at the material the night before, go in the next morning, get a 90, 95.
I worked my ass off to get up on that stage for graduation.
I can hardly read. I can just see things and know 'em. I really did myself an injustice going through school. But now y'all get to listen to me talk. And you're like, man, why does he talk like that? Well, he never really studied. He just looked at things and memorized them, wrote them back on a piece of paper. Anyways,
so
Russia, $110 trillion. Google only has $2 trillion. I have this kind of crazy
They really
feeling.
just knock it down to like 1.5 trillion and really give them a deal.
Yeah, get the number down reasonable. Google does a payout. I think we're going to see, not that this completely matters, but this does matter because this goes involved with the videos we've been doing about the world on fire and everything going on in Iran and Iraq and North Korea. North Korea just, this just happened. What did happen on Thursday? This happened on Thursday if you've been paying attention. And I know we got like all eyes on the election, but on Thursday, North Korea test fired an intercontinental ballistic missile for the first time in almost a year, demonstrating the potential and the advancement that they have the ability to launch a long-range missile, nuclear missile, I might add you, that can strike mainland U.S. of A.
That's terrifying.
So here's my question. Us or them, right? If, let's just say the alarms go off, bang, 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 and you're like, man, there's a nuclear warhead coming this way. It just passed over Asia. So it's coming out of Korea, it's headed our way. Or would they send it the other way around the Pacific?
I don't know how.
Which way would they send it?
I don't travel, so I can't. I don't.
I'm willing to bet the Koreans would send it around the Pacific. Because when Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, did they come around the Pacific or did they come up through the South Atlantic? I'm trying to remember the war. I think they came.
Nothing on the east of us. It'll all have to come from the west of us.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If they shot a warhead and it came eastwardly, it would have to cross over Asia, India, Turkey, Africa, the Atlantic Ocean, right?
We're talking North Korea. Aren't they on the edge up there?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It would have to go across all those other continents.
No, I'm saying, but they would just cross the ocean. If they're shooting it east, then they're coming from the west, and it would come towards California. They're shooting it east. It's coming from our west.
Oh yeah. So they would. So they wouldn't shoot it going west across all the continents. You're right. Because the Earth is round, not flat. For all you dummy flat earthers out there,
that had nothing to do with it.
It does because the Earth is flat, and if they shot it east, it would hit the end of the Earth and just bounce off the wall and come back and land on them.
No, but if they shot it east, there'd be. They probably would not make it across Europe. Yes.
Right. That's what I'm saying. If they shot it in one direction. Somebody help us out here.
Northeast. I'm
Heather and I both are high out of our bejeejies right now.
We must be.
We're both tripping on balls right now. We're tripping balls. That's not a true story. Heather doesn't do drugs.
No.
Anymore. Or any less.
Okay.
All right. Long story short, North Korea can hit us with a rocket now. If that rocket gets airborne, is it us versus them? Us versus the world? Where do we...
NATO steps in, right?
Where do we blow it up at?
Over the ocean.
Is the Atlantic big enough to absorb a nuclear warhead? I know they used to do tests they used to do the electrical grid test out over the Atlantic back. I don't know what president it was. It was a long time ago, back in the 40s. When they were letting things off over the Atlantic because it was far enough away from land that it wouldn't hurt, people and computers and electronics on land. But if a bomb went off, you would have to somehow get that bomb under the water. Like you'd have to shoot the warhead down so it detonated under the water. Because if it detonated in the atmosphere, it would just spread like a blanket.
Okay, I don't know how warheads work. I don't know how any of this works. I know that...
I've never seen a nuclear warhead in life go off, in real life. I've never seen that.
But you have that picture of is it Hiroshima or something like that? And you see the big poof.
Right.
So I think if that would go over water, it would stay probably over water because that's so much space.
Yeah, it's a long way from Europe to us.
It's not going to be 4,000 mile exploded area, would it?
Right, but the Earth is round, and weather patterns go around the Earth. Right, that's like we had some toxicity coming in from China up in Oregon and California and Washington, different places over there. because, from some of their plants, the radiation comes across the Pacific eventually. So I don't know how far it would travel. I'm not trying to scare everybody. It's just something to take note of because there's a lot of stuff not being talked about in the news right now because all eyes are on the election, and I understand. And based on that, how do you feel this election is going to go? Heather and I were talking.
Oh, I just want it over. There's going to be fighting. Nobody's going to be happy. Nobody's going to be happy because either Kamala's going to win and the right's going to be like, oh, it was false. It was rigged. What about those ballots that went up in flames or fell out of the car or got stolen? And if Trump wins, they're going to be like, well, they're not going to let Trump win.
But how? Okay, I know that it's hard to swallow, right? But some of these things we hear, especially I love Fort Walton, and they got their too big to rig parades and too big to rig flag waving, and that goes back to like I used to teach my children, and my son right now is playing ball. Don't let the referees win or lose you a game. Because people are like, oh man, the refs cheated, right? You've heard that a lot in sports.
Yeah, and we've dealt with that.
And I've always told my kids, win so big that no matter what the refs do, they can't stop y'all, right? Like just win so big that the refs can't affect the game. Don't have it come down to one basketball goal or one hit on a baseball field for your son or one touchdown or one field goal.
Right.
If the game was that close, you could have lost it anyway. You can't blame the refs, right? If the game was within 3 points, you could have lost it anyway. So you don't. But
they're just one person trying to judge the whole game, or two people trying to judge it's a lot of work for them. So
win big enough that you can't say anything about anybody. Oh, if it had to rain, we would have won. Oh, shut up, right? So I really believe that the silent majority is bigger than what you see on TV and the media.
Oh, yeah.
And what's going on in Trump and Trump supporters. And listen,
Trump supporters are scared to talk, a lot of them, because they get so much hate.
Well, it's just like this, just like that Puerto Rican thing with that Tony Hinchcliffe guy. If you don't publicly disavow him as a human being, you're a bigot, you're a racist. And it's like, dude, Puerto Rico has the worst trash situation on the planet. There's not another country, and I know Puerto Rico is part of America, but there's not another. Haiti is not as nasty as Puerto Rico as far as trash. And I'm not talking about the Puerto Rican people, and I'm not talking about their neighborhoods.
You're talking about waste management and control.
Yes, it is crooked. Like it's worse than like the mob waste management up in New York. The waste management department in Puerto Rico is so corrupt and so crooked. They're not recycling the stuff they're charging people to recycle for. They've got like 27 landfills, and every one of them is over capacity.
See, this isn't something that I've ever studied or looked into.
Because most people don't. Because you think, oh, Puerto Rico's a beautiful island with coconuts and
people take cruises there.
Yes.
People stop there on cruises.
Well, but Puerto Rico is beautiful. My mom and dad have been to Puerto Rico a couple times with some of their friends, lifelong friends. Lily and Hector Rodriguez, they were born on Puerto Rico Island and then moved into the States. One was a teacher, one was a water sanitation guy. And anyways, my mom and dad's even been there. It's a beautiful place, beautiful people. All right. My first love was a Puerto Rican lady. All right. In high school, long before I ever knew Mama Morris. But what I'm getting at is the guy made jokes about everybody. And yet the guy's an insult comedian. That's what he does. He's built his career as an insult comedian.
Okay. I didn't know that about him. I knew he was just a comedian.
No, he is. He has a show. I don't know if it's HBO or whatever, Comedy Channel. He's got a show called Kill Tony because people literally hate his guts. That's his deal. His shtick. That's his shtick, right? But they've got everybody focused on this because, and here's why. Ron DeSantis, for the first time ever, I don't know if we talked about this already. Did we already talk about this? Ron DeSantis, for the first time ever, if I'm backtracking, stay with me. I'm sorry, but I'm going somewhere with it. Ron DeSantis, for the first time ever, flipped South Florida red. So South Florida, historically, with the high influx of Spanish community, has always been a Democratic area down in Miami-Dade, in Broward, and those parts. They've always been blue. When Ron DeSantis won his last term as governor of Florida, he flipped it red. All right? Donald Trump is from Florida. Ron DeSantis is kicking butt in Florida. Trump has Florida support. They have to find out a way to take the Spanish vote away from Trump. Because if you look at that guy, Tony's, his entire set, He talked about Jews. He talked about blacks. He talked about Muslims. He talked about everybody.
Except white people.
Except.
What's wrong? Does he hate white people?
I know, right? That's the thing.
Nerve.
You know what? I used to tell people, if I don't talk to you, that means I hate you. If I'm talking to you and yelling at you, it means I love you. So he don't talk about it. He hates white people. The white people should be mad, not the Puerto Ricans. Crying out loud.
Right.
Stick around.
God, we need